podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Here, we love talking about everything Batman. The BatmanUniverse.net has news, original content, and reviews about Batman comics, movies, TV shows, video games, and more. Check out the BatmanUniverse.net and join our Discord server to start chatting with fellow fans. We can't wait to talk to you guys. Also, visit our Patreon page and join our other awesome supporters. But enough of this nonsense. On with the show.
Welcome to the Batman Universe Comic Podcast, Season 16, Episode 2. This is Ian.
This is Steph.
And this is Theo.
And we're excited to get stuck into the comics for this week. We have two, Batman and Robin number 5 and Detective Comics number 1081. But we have a little bit of news beforehand. First, this is probably true, but the sources are anonymous and unconfirmed. So I want to say this lightly. Bevan Abernathy, current executive editor for the Batman Group at DC, is reported to be leaving DC, possibly for a job at Skybound Comics with Robert Kirkman. Again, this is an unsourced story, but it also is not contradicted. So what do you think about losing Ben Abernathy? I believe he started around the same time that James Tynion took over Batman.
I am torn, and I'm torn for several reasons. One, I will never discount some of the good work that was done. Now, the question may be, was it more on the creative side that kept things in check, whether it was JT or whether it's Zdarsky, but I have my issues with Batman under his run as well. So again, he was editor under Tamaki, which was my favorite detective run. But again, makes you wonder whether or not it was under his guidance or more of JT pushing the issue in the Batman room that made that period as good as it is. And then I am a huge fan of the folks at Skybound. I think I've built a pretty decent relationship with them. I've spoken with them a few times, whether it was at New York Comic Con or via email. I had the pleasure I've had the pleasure of talking to Joshua Williamson about the work he's doing at Skybound. So depending upon what that role is, I would have some concern with him going over and messing up that cohesion. Now, again, I don't think Kirkman would allow that, but just based on some of the uneasiness that I have had, especially recently with regards to the Bat books, I don't know. I am just torn.
I think Theo honestly just said most of my thoughts. I really give a lot more credit to James Tynion because so much of what happened during the 2 years that Tynion was writing Batman was the kinds of thing that we saw when he was leading Batman Eternal and Batman and Robin Eternal, working with multiple writers and letting everyone have their own voice and their own story, but there was a cohesion there. And then, of course, as soon as Tynion left, we had Williamson, and obviously this isn't Williamson's fault. He was clearly a filler writer. And again, I really like Williamson. This is not saying that he should be seen as a filler writer, but he was a filler writer on Batman. And so he didn't really do a whole lot with Cohesion, although he did work with Ed Brisson to set up Batman Incorporated, and Brisson worked with Zdarsky, so there has been some collaboration. But as soon as Zdarsky and Ram V took over Detective and Batman, there's been no cohesion whatsoever. And it's hard to tell because executive editor Batman Group haven't given a lot of interviews in the last decades. I feel like I can probably name most of them, but I don't think I've listened to interviews because they just don't go on podcasts. Like Denny O'Neil, I don't actually know if Denny O'Neil did a lot of interviews when he was editor of the Batman Group. He gave a bunch of interviews, obviously, afterwards. So maybe this isn't fair, but I just don't have a sense of almost any of their personalities. I couldn't tell you almost anything about Mark Doyle or Mike Martz or Jamie Rich or Ben Abernathy, honestly. I mean, I followed Ben Abernathy on Twitter, and mostly what he posts is, I'm having a beer and having a good time.
Yeah, the most you've heard from him was during the pandemic when they did Fandom.
Right. And even then I got more Marie Javins than Ben Abernathy. So I think this is probably true. His name is still on the books, though, and it probably will be for another 3 to 4 months because these books are all edited beforehand. I would expect DC to make an announcement when they have a replacement, whether they promote one or hire outside. I mean, Abernathy himself was hired outside. He wasn't working in the Batman Group before he was hired as the group executive editor. So I expect them to find someone else. I don't think they're going to promote Jessica Burby or, dang, I don't even know who's still in the Batman Group anymore because Jessica Chen is out. She actually has been out since the summer, although her name also has been appearing on books even this week. So
wait, she's out? Where'd she go?
She went to a party board game creator manufacturer. She posted it on her Instagram in December.
Oh,
But she's been gone since June about.
that sucks. I liked her.
I liked her too, but I don't think the last year her heart's been in it because a lot of the stuff she's edited, like Detective Comics, has been weak. Ram V is leaving Detective Comics after issue 1089, presumably releasing in September unless they do a double ship, which they have not announced, but is quite possible.
Do we think his arc is going to be dropped like a bad trip, or do we think they'll try to retcon it somehow?
I mean, I think they are going to drop it. My question is, do you think this is sooner or exactly when he planned to leave in the first place?
I think this is a nightmare he's having, and he's going to wake up and be like, oh, Tuesday, huh? Off to work.
Let's go fight Vandal Savage.
Oh my gosh. No, Vandal Savage wasn't.
I think this is a less conspicuous treatment of them removing Tom King from Batman.
So you think it is earlier than he planned?
Most definitely.
I thought we were getting like 3 more years of this or something.
I didn't think we got 3 years. I did
another year.
Yeah, I thought it was another year. So I do agree. It feels like it is a little earlier. Ram V on Twitter has said that this is not earlier, but I don't necessarily believe him. Tom King also said that this was his plan all along, and it clearly wasn't. So,
although 8 is not that much different than 12.
It's about a trade.
Mentally.
I just feel like the point in the story we are doesn't feel like we have 8 or 7 issues left to go.
That's true.
It feels like we still have 12 to 18 issues left. Now, am I sorry that we only have 7 issues? No. But I also am not a huge fan of truncating storylines. So I don't know. I'm just feeling kind of about this whole thing.
This might be one of the few times where I might invite them to do a double ship just to get it over with.
Done. But we don't want them to have to do another Williamson filler arc. I'd rather they take their time to get a new good Detective Comics run set up.
If I'm thinking, and Ian and I think it was Ian and I were kind of discussing it on the server. If 1089. If that's the last issue and that puts us around the September timeframe, that gives them San Diego to make the announcement.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to double ship. And I really hope that they're spending this time wisely and getting ahead on art, because I am so freaking sick of multiple artists on Detective Comics. This is their second Batman title, for crying out loud. It should have one artist.
Look, I'm not worried about the art.
No.
I'm ready to start the pool on who the new writer is going to be.
Was Williamson the one that took over for Tech, and he wrote that really well illustrated Two-Face story?
That was James Robinson.
The Robinson. Okay, I get them mixed up. They're very similar names.
They're
Wait,
similar
the one
names.
that was-
James Robinson sucks, and Williamson.
Yeah,
Right. Well, we have talked about how Williamson can be inconsistent, but I couldn't remember if he was that bad. No, he's not that bad when he's in.
I do have
Robinson,
a
that was-
particular beef with James Robinson, so
I have several beef with James Robinson myself, which could probably be an episode in and of itself.
Well, I actually
Maybe.
just read a ton of Superman comics by Robinson, and I didn't hate them, so I've kind of mellowed, but not on the stuff that I hated before.
Man, just Trinity and the Two-Face story, and I don't know.
And his Wonder Woman run.
And then I can always go into his Marvel stuff that he kind of it got to the point to where whenever I saw him as the writer, I just felt it was to kill the book off.
It does kind of feel like that sometimes.
Anyway,
Or complete filler.
we don't have to talk about it. I just couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Was he on not Justice? Yeah, was he on Justice League too?
Was he? I don't read a ton of Justice League, so I don't remember.
Was it Justice League or Justice League of America?
I know Steve Orlando was on JLA.
Well, he started it.
Yeah. I thought he finished it out too. It was a pretty short run.
I don't know, but yeah. So
But I want to throw Jeremy Adams' name. This is complete just wish fulfillment, but that's who I want on Detective Comics.
I still want Priest.
I think we're gonna start a pool.
All right, who's your dark horse?
Priest.
Priest? Oh, I mean, I love that.
We've talked about that in the past. Tamaki should come back.
I would also love that.
Tamaki would be my dark horse.
I feel like Tamaki's gone Hollywood, and I don't think she's coming back for a while. Because she just wrote for the Monarch Legacy of Monsters show, so I think she's gotten some contacts and stuff there.
Don't be that
And
good.
the money is better there.
You all remember the day we were talking about wanting Chip Zdarsky on a Batman book?
I mean, I'm still happy with it.
I'm very happy with it.
Hey, I'm still down for Brandon Thomas doing Batman.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. There'd be a dark horse indeed. Yeah, so we've got some good people suggested. We'll see if any of them get picked or if we get someone random. Or if one of our people gets picked and then falls on his face like Ram V. Because we all thought Ram V would be great. And we're all very
And then
stages of not great.
Well, I started to be quite afraid when I heard of the whole opera thing, and I was just like, ugh.
I didn't get the opera thing. It seemed weird, and it has been weird. Oh, and one last news story. This isn't super huge, but it was on the news page. The Walking Dead artist is going to do Batman Black and White in the April issue of Brave and the Bold.
Okay.
So, I don't really have a reaction to that, too. I just feel like I should do it because it was on the news.
Something going on beyond the gates of Gotham. I need someone to get here as soon as possible. Is there anyone out there? Can anybody hear me? Hello?
I read one issue, and it was the last issue of Volume 1, and when that was it.
Okay.
I don't get the zombies.
Yeah, me neither. Let us move to our review section. Steph, can you start us off with Batman and Robin number 5?
Batman and Robin number 5, School Daze, D-A-Z-E. Written by Josh Williamson, art by Nicola Chismershia, colors by Rex Lucas. Bruce serves pancakes at the Gotham High breakfast, embarrassing Damian. The night before, Batman and Robin chased Orca, trying to find leads on their fight with Man-Bat and Shush. They capture her, but she can't give them anything. For the past week, Damian has been unable to prove his suspicion that his former League of Assassins teacher, Headmistress Harsh, is now working at Gotham High as Principal Stone and is also Hush. At the breakfast, Damian has another run-in with bullies, but a girl named Erica intervenes. She tells Damian that 50% of Gotham High students became criminals until Principal/Coach Stone took over. Bruce talks with Miss Hall, the history teacher, about Damian. Meanwhile, inspired by Erica's comments, Damian tries out for the soccer team and gets on Coach Principal Stone's team. Batman and Robin follow the soccer team goalie and discover he is Victor Zsasz' son, plotting his first kill.
So, first things first, this completely fits into my theory of Mr. Zsasz and Robin's, which is that every Robin has to face Mr. Zsasz because there's something about that particular villain that really works in a Robin context. It's sort of like Mr. Zsasz is a very motiveless killer. He doesn't have a deep philosophy. He's just as evil as the Joker, but he's not quite as scary because he doesn't have this whole agent of chaos philosophy. So I think that he's kind of like training wheels Joker for Robins to really test their skills. And Tim had to face him, of course. Damian faced him a long time ago in Streets of Gotham by Paul Dini and Dustin Nguyen. Steph faced him when she was Robin, and Duke had to face him when he was training to be Signal in All-Star Batman by Scott Snyder. So, once again, a Zsasz versus a Robin.
Okay.
It's just a theory I've been thinking about for, oh goodness, this is since 2017, so 6 years. 7 years, goodness.
Obviously there is no limit to Batman baddies. But yeah, if you're just going to go for the tried and true, I guess, I don't have a strong opinion on it. I don't have a theory. I don't like Zsasz.
I think like a child of Zsasz. I'll be very curious to find out if it's actually his biological child, because it's hard for me to imagine Zsasz actually having a kid.
Maybe it was an accident.
Well, it could
Like
be
he
like
tripped in a
Joker's
hot
daughter.
tub or
Like he's
something.
obsessed. Like he's obsessed with Zsasz, so he wants him to be his father, but it's not really his father.
Yeah, kind of like, what was it, Joker's daughter?
Yeah.
Which will really be cheap if that's the case.
I think it works. I just have a hard time believing Zsasz would reproduce. I just don't think he'd leave a woman alive for 9 months. He's evil.
Maybe she got away.
I have a hard time believing it.
Anywho.
We have a new artist, Nicola Chismachia, last seen doing the Gotham War Red Hood issues. What do you think about he's just doing two issues, his fill-in for Simone de Mayo and Mikel Janin, who did a lot of last issue.
No. They had Bruce Wayne in a polo, and he looked weird. Misshapen and scruffy, and not in a good way. No. Like, you have all these women sitting around talking about who's the hunk, and then they show him, and he's like, ugh. Like, he did a decent effort on making the women attractive. It's like, try it. I don't know. But his comedic art was pretty funny. Like, Damian's face when Zaz's kid catches the soccer ball, that was hilarious. Like, that was straight out of an anime. That was really good. So I didn't hate it. It just wasn't very pretty. And I need a pretty Bruce. I'm sorry.
We all have our things.
I was getting ready to say, you all must remember that this is the girl, this is the lady who gushed over Danmore. Danmore drove Bruce Wayne in jail, and yeah.
In his suit, with his good-looking scruff. Anyway.
And Yvonne Reese and just falling and gushing over all of those renditions of Bruce.
Jimenez.
You cannot gush over Jorge Jimenez everything.
For me, so I was okay with the art, and again, Ian and I kind of talked about it in the server. I think one of the things that I appreciate is that at least from the interior standpoint. It seems they've moved on from Simone DeMeo, which, again, the art isn't bad. I just don't think his style of art is great for interiors. I love the covers as they've, been coming out, but I wasn't always crazy. The interiors wore on me. So having new artists this time around is a step up for me. Although it's slightly a step down considering last issue we had Mikhail Jinian doing the art, which was really good.
It was so gorgeous. Oh my goodness. I was looking at it before just to get caught up a bit. I was like, oh, those pieces. He's so good.
So but I don't have the same problems with it that Steph does.
Neither do I. I also think it's a slight step down from Hanin, although I would say Hanin's an A-level artist, and so it's a little unfair because Cheese Machia is on his way up. He's sort of where Gleb Melnikov was when he started doing Robin himself back in 2021 with Williamson. And I've liked Cheese Machia a lot recently. He did that Azrael miniseries that I just adore, and he did that Red Hood, and I will always be biased because he did a very beautiful Stephanie Brown in that Red Hood miniseries, even though Williamson... No, it wasn't. It was Rosenberg. Rosenberg just kind of dropped her after the first issue for no apparent reason. But that's not Cheese Machia's fault. So I really like seeing here. I agree that Bruce here was drawn comedically and not appealingly, but that's not necessarily something that I'm looking for, so it didn't bother me that much. I do not begrudge Steph her preferences, and I think they are completely valid. I just really liked there was an energy to it, and some good storytelling that I think, that's where I think Simone DeMeo kind of isn't as good. I don't think he has as good layouts, and also the colors. Rex Locus did a lot more bright and red colors, whereas Simone DeMeo was very blue and green, and it just felt very cold all the time. So I appreciate the warmer colors a lot here. We have a focus on the school setting. Did you think that was incidental, or did you like the world building? How'd that work for you?
Oh, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I wanted this to be, and again, this is an expectations thing. This isn't necessarily a good, bad, ugly thing, but with all the family strife we've been getting, having a couple of books that just take the time to focus on family and relationship, and it doesn't have to be, like, this is kind of turning into a semi-quasi Wayne Family Adventures kind of vibe story with a little more, storyline to it. So I love it. I think it's okay that a Batman story isn't defusing a nuclear bomb. It's okay if it's just a small little story taking place at high school about Damien's former teacher. Like, that's fine. It's wonderful. I love it. I need the mellow every once in a while. My brain might explode if every story I read is an end of the world story.
Or worse, a demon possessing Batman, which is happening twice right now.
It's not a demon. It's it's a virus and a nightmare. I don't know. Oh, God. Anyway, whatever.
I will only say that I agree with Steph, and as I've been saying from the beginning, this seems more like a continuation of Williamson's Robin run, which was really more of a Damian Wayne coming of age story for me. And I loved it then, and I am loving it now. Just the idea of him interacting with other kids around his age, just like he did, in Robin on Lazarus Island. It's great. One of the things that we've always talked about, with regards to Damian and Damian's development over the years is how long they kept him as a 10-year-old. And now, in the past few years, we've seen him as a teenager, and now he's in high school, and I'm just, all here for it, to have a Batman book that has Batman and Robin, but just seeing these snippets of Bruce and Damian Wayne, just, as Steph will say, just makes me feel all fuzzy inside.
I do have the same feelings. I should be careful here. I struggle with Bruce and Damien's relationship because I think Bruce isn't really able to provide Damien with what he really needs because they're both broken in kind of the same way and they both have the same flaws of arrogance, privilege, and being more powerful than everyone around them. And that's why I think that Dick tends to be a better pairing than Bruce with Damien. But I do think that he is his father, and so I appreciate when the writers try to make that a meaningful relationship. I wish we would get a Nightwing and Robin book. That's my dream book for this Robin.
Or just bring back Grant Morrison doing Batman and Robin with Dick as Batman.
Except that I don't think Morrison's Damien is good.
Morrison's Damien was the Damien that had to die. But it was still one of the best renditions of Batman and Robin out there.
I really liked the world building of Gotham High since it's more of a public type school. I think it is a public school.
It is.
Than Gotham Academy. You have Gotham Academy, which has a bunch of supervillains as teachers, but it's mostly the rich, nerdy kids who work hard and get good grades, and it's clearly like the prep school, the Eton of America. This Gotham High is much more, kind of your inner city, your urban school, where they say 50% of the kids become henchmen straight out of high school. And I think that's obviously not what... I don't know actual stats on public schools, but I think that there is definitely an attempt to reflect reality in some of these urban environments and urban schools. And I appreciate that just felt really textured and kind of meaningful. And I hope that Principal Stone is not Shush and Mistress Harsh, because I would like there to be a school that isn't turning out 50% henchmen in Gotham.
Or maybe she's doing, maybe it is a deeper story. It's not just villain of the week, rah ha 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 ha. Maybe there is something more to her actions.
I mean, I think there clearly is something more to their actions. I hope that she doesn't end having to leave as principal, because if she's that kind of force for good, I would hate to see that would make me very sad, because I just think there's a lot of really cool detail. I did think that the bullies were a bit too cliched, a bit 80s movie type thing, but it worked. It's basically a vehicle for Damien to struggle with and for him to follow this son of Zaz. So I understand the purpose. I just think that it's not the strongest part. But other things like Erica and Principal Stone and the history teacher, those are all really strong stuff.
So I'm going to go on the record for, a few things. First of all, I'm going on the record right now. I don't think she's Shush. And I've kind of said this before on the server. I think that's a swerve just waiting to happen.
I think you're right.
It's her twin sister.
That'd be great.
But you mentioned your appreciation for Damien being in a public school now compared to being at Gotham Academy, and I do as well. And I definitely appreciate how Williamson presented the reason why Bruce is sending him to Gotham High instead of Gotham Academy, because again, he wants him to be around other kids and just have a more real world life. And so I kind of understand that from experience. Now, first of all, no, I'm not rich, I'm not bougie, and I didn't go to a Gotham Academy type school. However, I had 8 years of Catholic school education, and then for high school, I landed smack in the middle of public high school, which was a huge cultural shock. But it opened my eyes to a lot of stuff that Catholic schools don't expose their students to for obvious reasons, which really made me a better person, just knowing and having a better sense of the world. And I think that idea of throwing Damien into a public school so that he can get a better sense of the world other than what could happen at an elite Gotham Academy or what he's learned with the League is really a wonderful idea that I'm really liking. But no, I think somebody else is going to... I actually think the teacher is...
The history teacher?
Yes, I actually
Yeah, I
think...
actually kind of agree with you there.
I think she's going to turn up being Shush.
Or Mistress Harsh. Maybe Shush and Mistress Harsh are different people, and Damien's just mistaken. But I do think that one of them is going to be Harsh. Otherwise, they wouldn't have introduced that character in the flashback.
Can I just say, it is a bit of a pet peeve for me, who is someone who I like to think of myself as a fairly nice person, and I may not be super intentional, but I try to look out for the little guy, you know? And, I mean, I'm usually the little guy, but, I try. And then in movies and shows and books or whatever, and then it's like, brah, ha, ha, it was the friendly history teacher the whole time. It was Quirrell, the unsuspecting... Well, I guess Quirrell wasn't all that nice. But, like, that's a little stupid sometimes. Like, if they've planted seeds, or there was hints or whatever...
The teacher should be mean?
Well, I don't know. Like, it's
Or do you think Damien should be right?
No, I don't care about that. I guess I'm just, when someone who's a mentor, like, I guess I'm kind of thinking of like, so like Long John Silver or spoiler if you haven't seen Wednesday, but like Christina, what's her name in Wednesday? Like, whenever the mentor character turns out to be the...
virgin Netflix ears are getting real spoiled right now.
The show's been out a while, y'all. But just whenever a mentor, especially when it's a mentor character who went out of their way to be kind, to be nice and mentor, and then they end up being the baddie. Like, I don't know. That just kind of rubs me the wrong way. It makes me feel like... we shouldn't have mentors, and you should be wary of anyone who's nice to you. And whereas in today's world, yeah, I guess you should.
I think they should have a balance. I think there should be an intentional attempt to show what a good mentor is and what a bad mentor is.
I will only say two things. One, if the intention was to make the principal Madam Harsh or Mistress Harsh, and Shush or either or, then don't let Damien blurt it out, because that just makes it anticlimactic.
Yeah, because every good detective story, the first suspect is never the right one.
Unless there's 15 different red herrings.
15 red herrings.
There's this one episode of Elementary I'm still trying to find. It's just every act break was a ridiculous red herring. I'm just sitting here like, is there ever going to be a real clue?
Oh, one of my favorite Agatha Christie's is Lord Edgware Dies, where you're like, oh, it was totally the ex-wife who did it, like right at the beginning. And so it's like, so obviously it can't be the ex-wife. And then it's totally the ex-wife. Like, the person you thought at the very first moment who did it was totally the one who did it. It's great. Spoiler for a 50-year-old book or however old.
And you haven't watched Wednesday?
I don't like Tim Burton.
Then he's not going to watch one.
I'm so sad to hear that. Okay,
all right.
Moving on. Okay, moving on.
After that spoiler cast.
That is all my questions. I'm really pleased that I am really enjoying this book. I just think it's a really good book, and I'm really glad that we're doing main reviews of it.
For me, it's still the best Bat book of the three right now, and I'm happy. I'm happy.
Enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm happy to have made it one of the main books for the site.
Yes. So let us give a rating for Batman and Robin number 5 out of 5 pancakes.
I will say 3.5. I did not love the art, but everywhere else other than this, the objectification of men, I guess, was fine and fun. And I'm enjoying the lower stakes story and the world building and the relationship building. I'm just really, and even though it's a slower story, I'm okay. It's faster than tech, and it's fine. It's fine.
It's faster than a slug on salt, aka Detective Comics.
Ask this question, and I'm sorry to cut into the ratings.
Do it.
Kind of just popped. What are your thoughts, and what are your thoughts on Man-Bat being the big bad?
I will say the one thing I might have against this book is kind of what my problem was with Batgirls, which is there's too many baddies being introduced and too many semi-baddies. So like
There are a lot of villains so far.
so even if 2 or 3 of them ending up being the same person, so far we have Shush, we have Harsh, who's really just a memory. Hasn't shown up. We have Rabbit, who we don't know what to think of. Orca keeps showing up. Man-Bat,
Terrible trio.
Yeah, the terrible trio. This is a lot for just like
A lot. And we're only 5 issues
this is
in.
only the 5th issue.
This
So-
isn't even 1 per issue. This is like 2 or 3 per issue.
So if I had to give one criticism, it's too many baddie cards are on the table right now. I think I've already talked about Man-Bat and how I'm really sad that it's Man-Bat because I liked the direction he was going before this. But other than that, the fact that he's like extra super mutilated for some reason, fine. Okay, he's extra damaged. That's okay. He's the villain, whatever. Yeah. So those are my only 2 thoughts on Man-Bat is too many baddies, and I liked the direction he was going before.
Okay, so for me, I will give it a 3.75.
What were your thoughts? Can't ask a question and then not answer it.
If I had one issue, and you kind of touched on it, is the notion of how all of these characters who have at some point just recently had a redemption story of some point is just, just almost immediately thrown out of the window.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. It's sort of like when we talked about One Bad Day Clayface, and we were all really sad because we loved Clayface in Detective Comics by James Tynion. It is sad when you spend a lot of time rehabilitating a villain, and then they go back to being a villain. It is kind of the nature of comics, but it is sad. I honestly feel that way about Orca in this issue, because I really liked Orca in Nightwing. And that was referenced here, but I just didn't like seeing her being a villain again.
Yeah, I had an enjoyment, not just that, but also of Orca in Gotham City Monsters, and we have Croc, who can't seem to make up his mind either, because he showed up in the first and second issue of Batman and Robin, and then he's in Poison Ivy, trying to help Ivy do good, and he's on. It's just, I don't know. If you want them to be baddies, just keep them baddies and don't get our hopes up. Like, I still will not forgive them for just ruining Clayface. That the Clayface that JT created in Detective was just, well, chef's kiss, and I just loved everything about how they developed that character and how they used him to not only develop himself as a character, but also develop Cass as a character as well, because those two were a good partnership, and it kind of just went. But anyway, 3.75.
I'm giving a 3.66.
Oh my god.
Are you serious?
Hey, I am not. I could have gone with Steph and given it a 3.5.
I always forget I can do quarters now. I'm so Justinified.
This is me giving an honest review. I didn't think it was quite a 3 3/4, but I thought it was better than a 3.5. So I did 3 2/3.
What did Daniel give it? He gave it, I think he gave it a 2.5.
He doesn't love it the way we love it.
Oh no, he went real low. He gave it a 2.2.
No, his rating doesn't count. You don't need to add that in. It's fine. It's fine.
If I am told that is the rating, it has to go
No,
on.
then I change mine to a 3.75. No, that's cheating.
So I can have a mode?
That's cheating.
Yes, I will give you your mode.
I changed mine to 3.75 because I forgot that you can do that.
Okay.
Make it happen. And
So that gives us a 3.42 average and a 3.75 mode.
Yay!
And I didn't even do the mode, so it's not my fault. But I'm going to delight in it.
Win-win.
Win-win.
Win-win. Speaking of things that are not necessarily win-wins, let's move on to Detective Comics number 1081.
Do we have to?
Gotham Nocturne, Act 3, An Elegy of Sand, Part 1. Also, The Question, Gotham, Forget Me Not, Part 1. Written by Ram V. Art by Riccardo Federici. Question art by Stefano Raphael. An unknown narrator tells us the story of Batman, rowed by Talia in the last boat from their wrecked ship out of Gotham, as Barbados and the Asmer demon battle for control of his soul. Talia drags Batman's body across the desert, meeting mysterious people and apparitions. He leaves his body by their fire and promises to wait across the desert for him. Batman awakes and sees Dr. Hurt on a throne surrounded by monsters. Dr. Hurt says that Batman's almost death brought him to the sand between places. The tea Talia gave him to drink makes things as real as he wants them to be, so he can answer the question, who are you? In Gotham, Renee Montoya, the Question, roams the nighttime streets investigating Detective Fielding's murder. A mugger runs from his victim without her watch, terrified of the Batman he cannot remember. Batman fights the Asmer demon and wins, but realizes it will rise again, and his battle will be eternal. He sees a tree and staggers to it, but collapses when he realizes it is a nightmare of corpses. Someone gives him water, calling him Eris. The Question finds Alan Nash, Fielding's partner, dead of suicide with a confession of murder in front of him. But she knows that Nash did not slaughter his friend of his own will. The man who gave Batman water says he is Farhad, the man from Damien's story last issue. He says the only way out of the desert is to know himself. Bruce says, I am Batman. But Farhad says that Bruce is more than words. Batman travels on, finding a city full of men in neat rows wearing identical masks, with Dr. Hurt once again on the throne. Hurt tells Batman that this city is a Gotham saved by Batman. Do you have more appreciation for the backup of last issue of Detective now that it's playing into the main story? So now we know the whole Farhad and whatever her name was, and Talia is playing the role of the woman, and Batman is playing the role of the man.
I don't remember the story, because I think I really struck. I must have blocked it. I don't remember the story. Like, I remember that there was a story about Damien and he had a nightmare and things, and his mother told him about something, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember. And no, it had zero significance to me. I didn't care. I didn't care to go back and read. My only thought reading this story, okay, two things. What was in that tea? And why? What? And then where is he? What country are they in? What is going on? What is this place? What?
Okay, so the answer to the first question is easy. It was drugs. The answer to the second question, I think we don't know. And I don't think we're ever going to know, because Ramvi is not interested in telling us things.
I gotta tell you, so I didn't realize at first that because last time the question story was tacked on at the end. So when I saw it show up like 4 or 5 pages into the story, I was like, oh, it's just really short. Oh, thank God, it's just really, really short. And the rest of the book is just question. I can do this. And then it wasn't. And then you had to remember what nonsense was going on before you started reading the question story. And even if you did, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Because what?
Well, we will get more into that, but I still want to know what Theo thinks about last issue's backup being important for this issue.
I can't even remember last issue's backup.
Wow, am I the only one who remembers? It's probably because I had to write the review.
Probably.
Okay, so here's why I can't remember. I can't remember because, and I've said it multiple times during this run, Detective has become a chore to read.
What did I say this afternoon or this morning? I said I would rather clean my bathroom than read this book.
When it's become a chore to read, it's forgettable, unfortunately, and I hate to say that. I really do. So what was the backup, Ian?
Well, it was just the story that Talia told Damien when he was very young about two lovers. One of them had to cross the desert to find his love, but when he finds her, she is dead.
Okay, so here's my problem with that. She told that story before. We got that in an earlier issue, did we not?
Not really. She told the story of
Fahad and how he made a deal with the demon that allowed him to live, and when he finally found his love, she was already dead. Is that how the story ended?
that was what was in the backup. When did she tell that story before?
Oh, yeah, that was told earlier. Was it early in Robin? This is not the first time that this story has been told. It is not.
Interesting. Maybe it's from the original Tales of the Demon.
No, this was like recently, as in. See, now you're gonna make me pull up the box. But no, if that's that story, I guarantee you that we got that story before, where the two lovers and he went looking for her, and at some point he made a deal with the demon or whoever or God or whatever, and by the time he found his love, she was already dead.
Yeah, it looks like I'm doing a quick Google and it says that 1064 is when that's popping up. Interesting.
And if so, that's cheap.
That does feel cheap. Although it does mean that Rom V was doing it on purpose even at the beginning.
I don't think the world building is the problem, but it is.
I mean, I do. I think the world building is
I
the
don't
problem.
like the world that's being built. No, I'm just saying.
What in the world is the point of these Orgums who have like these godlike powers and just like wander around Gotham taking over things? Like, how do they get these powers? You can't just say, oh, years of being part of a mystical society. No, that's nonsense.
Anyway.
So I would say I do think that the setup in the backup last issue was fine.
And let me just say, Ian, it was Detective Comics number 1064.
Yeah. I don't remember that far back.
Yeah. See, that's cheap.
It does feel weird that he had Dan Waters just recap something he wrote a year ago. Or was it 2 years ago? Year and a half ago.
No, it would be 2 years in September.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So Steph's already touched on this a little bit.
Sorry.
But how do you feel about splitting this main story into two interleaved stories, the Question and the Batman story?
I liked the Question story. I liked the backup. I loved the art of the main story. Those three things are the only things that got me to the end of the book. So if the Question story hadn't been interspersed in this story, I would have died. I would have called in tonight and said, y'all, it's my birthday, because it is my birthday. And and I don't want to do this. I would rather do something else, like clean my bathroom. But interspersing the Question story saved this book for me. And by saved it, I meant made it readable.
I like the Question story. I think the Question story is a little too late. I think it should have happened perhaps as a backup story almost as soon as the murder then suicide at the suggestion of your girl happened. Again, at this point, for me, it's just kind of pointless. What's the point? What's the end game going to be? Have we got this mystery started, as it happened? That's one thing, but I don't know.
Watch Renee solve the whole Asmar thing.
I know, in like 3 backups, and like we're like, this could have been solved a year and a half ago, guys. I think it's a good secondary story. I think it's a good B plot. I actually think this should have been the backup from the beginning. I think we could have gotten rid of most of the backups that we've had. And I understand what they were doing with them, setting things up, blah, blah, blah. But I am sick of Renee as commissioner. I think she's a bad commissioner. And I think she's an awesome question. And so I think she should have been only questioned a year and a half ago after Fair State. So I agree with Theo, but I think it's even later than it should be. I think Renee should be primarily questioned, and I'm tired of the commissioner stuff. So it does feel too late. So it's good, but it still frustrates me because they've wasted so much time putting Renee through nonsense. I think that is a clever way to deal with the fact that for some reason this book cannot have a single artist on the freaking main story for one issue. I think that both artists are very good. They're very different, and so it's a good thing that they split it like this instead of trying to convince us that they're trying to imitate each other's styles, because Stefano Raphael and Riccardo Federici have extremely different styles and they're not going to look the same. I think the main story abuses narration, and I especially don't like the fact that it's an unknown narrator just sort of waffling on about nonsense that's happening instead of dialogue.
I agree, but I feel like if this had been what's the word? Black label. I was thinking Blue Bonnet. If this was a Black Label book, or an AU or something, I feel like we'd be a little more forgiving. Where it's like, this really just isn't my cup of tea, but I see what they were going for, I guess. But the fact that they're trying to pass this off as Detective Comics, and this is the voice of Detective, like, this is not the voice of Detective. This is a creator-owned, non-Batman Black Label book. I think you could have done something with it. But as it is, I just, sorry. I'm trying to be something. Not a completely Debbie Downer.
Oh,
how long do you think Bruce is going to be stuck in this weirdo tea-induced desert mine journey?
Too long. Whatever it is.
But one issue's too long.
One issue. Yep. No, one issue's too long. Too long. Whatever it is, it's going to be way too
long. I will say this. It won't be in October.
No, it will be. They'll just leave him there.
Oh my god!
The next writer has to figure out what to do.
Why would you put that in the universe, Steph? Don't put that in the universe. I'm predicting 3 issues, and part of that is looking at solicits, but part of that is I feel like since we know we only have 7 more issues, we gotta have at least 4 or 5 issues for the actual final battle.
Watch there not be one.
Oh my goodness! I will.
They all just get food poisoning or something.
Pass it through my digestive system if that happens.
Wait, if what happened?
There won't be
not a final battle.
There's not a final battle. It's just like,
who would the final battle be with?
That's true.
The mom.
No, the mom's just gonna trip and fall on her face or something.
Yeah, I mean,
I will pass a big brick through my bottom.
I mean, who's gonna fight? I mean, if it's Talia and Selena teaming up against her, hey, I'm all for that. But having Bruce pop back up in Gotham to fight, unless she turns into some type of demon herself, I don't know. She's Dracula. It's seeing Bruce battle a female is almost like seeing intergender wrestling in today's times on TV. It just doesn't happen.
Wow, we're gonna get canceled so hard. Not my fault, guys.
I don't see it happening. Again, I could see Talia popping. I could see Selena going at your girl again. I could see, hell, have Cass do it. Have Renee do it. But the notion of the final battle being between Bruce and Queen Crazy Lady, I don't see it. I could see her sending her minions, and once he takes them down, she takes off and swears vengeance, and then gets on a boat, and Talia blows it up, and then everybody lives happily ever after. And
that happens, I'm gonna pass a freaking brick through my freaking digestives.
Wow,
that's quite an expression of anger there.
Wow, that will be a dumb as heck finale.
Yuck.
Just have crazy shit happened.
I want this to be better.
I just can't see. I
I'm mad
can't
about things that
see.
haven't even happened.
But the idea of Bruce and Queen Mama just battling it out now. She seems more like a psychological fighter.
I mean, she's used poison like 5 times now, so
Yeah, I don't know.
it's like that wacko scene at the end of Batman and Robin Eternal where Mother stops being like a mastermind and turns into a weirdo ninja, and you're just like, what? You've been a ninja you have not been a ninja until this last issue. What are you doing?
Why'd you bring that back?
Because I like Batman and Robin Eternal.
The best thing about Batman and Robin Eternal was Cass.
Yeah, in issue 13, and it's an all-time issue, and I have it signed. So there.
Who signed yours?
Tynan and Pagulan. No, not Pagulan. What's Marcio Takara?
He signed it.
I got writer and artist, and it's one of my cherished issues.
I did not get it.
Okay. Last piece of the main story is...
Wait, there wasn't more?
Do you want to talk about it more?
I just wanted to say, as someone who has not read a lot of pre-Rebirth, and as someone who doesn't remember 5, 7, 8 issues ago, this issue could have used some editor's notes. I do not know.
Yeah, but all the editors have quit.
I do not know. You know what these things need? They need, like, QR codes to DC fandom. Like, really. Because I don't...
agree.
I mean, I know how to Google things, right? I am of the Googling generation. If you're going to ask me a question, I'm going to Google it myself before I tell you, right? But... assuming I'm not, right? Assuming I'm Joe Schmo picking up a comic.
I don't think you should have to freaking Google
I shouldn't
something
have to Google it, right?
understand it.
I don't know. There was no intro card for Dr. Hurt or whatever his name is. I don't know who he is. I don't know he's a doctor. I don't know his first name. I don't know why he has this weird daddy kink with Bruce. I don't know why he has a tree full of baddies following him.
Here's the problem, Steph. Even if you went back and read the Grant Morrison issues where Dr. Hurt appears, you still wouldn't know any of those things because Grant Morrison just dropped Dr. Hurt and it was bizarre and crazy and made 0 sense. So
at least it's keeping with, I guess, the tradition of him.
Because I have read those issues and I still don't understand Dr. Hurt and I hate him.
But still, having at least a direction or a pointer or an issue to pick up to say, or at least a title card with what this guy's name is. Like, it wasn't in last issue when he was with the flamingo guy. It's not in this issue. Like, it's just... I know I've mentioned this before, but, like, one of my favorite shows, and I tried collecting the manga and I didn't get into it, but one of my favorite shows is My Hero Academia. And even if you've seen a character 15,000 times, every time they come up for the first time in an episode, they give him a title card. You remember, all right, that's what's his name, and this is a super boss. Because there's just so many there's so many villains and heroes in that show. If they don't show you a title card, odds are you may have forgotten what their name is. So that's going
Steph, don't you understand? This is opera. We have to be immersed, and these title cards would distract you from the emotional immersion.
Then put an editor's note. This is Dr. Hurt from issue.
No, that would break the immersion, Steph.
She is really asking for a lot, isn't she? Ian?
No, she's not. I completely agree with her. I'm just very irritated. As I said, I don't really want to draw this out a whole lot more, so I just have one last question. Talia apparently gives out her true name, Tal Yahi, which Ron V on Twitter says means dew of the gods or tears of the gods.
Oh, I thought she was drunk.
How do you feel about this piece of world building?
Nope. Zero thoughts, zero opinions, zero feelings. Just wanted to keep getting this book over with. That was the only thought.
Okay.
I think it is fine. It's not like the Orgums suddenly being more important than the Al Ghuls, which I still hate. I think it's a perfectly fine bit of world building. I think I shouldn't have to go to Twitter to find out what it means. Again, editor's notes would be good to hear. But I think it's fine. It gives texture to Talia's character. I don't think we need texture, but it's not bad. I'm a little irritated that we're just popping in new villains for no apparent reason when the villains we already have, the Orgums, are incredibly sketchy, vague, and undefined. But it is what it is. For the next 7 months. We're going to have a countdown, guys.
Totally.
All right, let's move on to the backup. Backup is...
All right, I'm not reading it.
No, I'm reading it.
You're reading it.
Backup is His Name Was Dr. Hurt, Part 1. Written by Dan Waters. Art by Hayden Sherman. Colors by Triona Farrell. A group of 4 broken people meet and share their stories. Annie tells of her husband Simon, who abandoned her after a complete gaslight marriage. A man tells of his master, who claimed to have trained Batman, and then gave him a grapnel gun with no rope after 2 years of training. The man fell from a skyscraper and now slowly heals in great agony. The group leader reveals the same man hurt them all, torturing him to exorcise a demon that wasn't there. The leader tells him that he plans to kill Dr. Hurt that night. Do you think that these 4 victims will actually meaningfully contribute to the defeat of Dr. Hurt, or will they just be slaughtered to show how evil and powerful he is?
I mean, Dr. Hurt appears to be in some made-up country.
No, that's my next question.
So, obviously, this either happens in the future or the past, and if it happens in the past, it didn't work, and if it happens in the future, then Batman's dead? Question mark. I don't really know. And I'll be honest, based on your question and like thinking about where this story could go, I probably will hate the ending of the story. But I really like the setup of the story. This actually was a really creepy story. Like, if this had been like from a horror anthology, like this would have been really interesting. I liked this story a lot as a standalone creepy story about someone I don't know.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Theo?
I actually did not read it.
Oh, okay. I agree with Steph that this setup is really cool, and I like the art. I just think that it feels too much like one of those stories where all the characters, you get all this sympathy for these characters who have gone through hell, and they're coming together, and they're going to fight evil, and then they just all get killed to show that the bad guy is hardcore and evil. And I am not excited about that. If they actually become important in the defeat of Dr. Hurt, I will like this, but I feel like I'm being set up for just feeling very blah and frustrated at the end of the story. So the second and last question.
Sounds like a whole House of Gotham type of thing.
Yeah. Well, but House of Gotham didn't have to end the way it did. Why is Dr. Hurt in Gotham for like 3 years just screwing with people, and now he's showing up in Batman's weird spirit quest?
Well, okay. No, to be fair, and where was he in the last issue? Was he just hanging out? He's got to live somewhere. Got to find something to do.
But why is he in the freaking spirit quest?
Yeah, I think that's the real question. The question isn't why is he in Gotham wreaking havoc. That's where you do havoc heaving. That's fine. Yeah, why is he on this? Why did he jump out the window in the last issue and run off to? Why? What is this story?
Okay, so Steph and I feel the same way. I think it's fine that he's in Gotham. I think it's stupid that we have another villain revealed in the last act doing random nonsense. But, geez, why is he in the stupid spirit quest? I don't like Dr. Hurt. I don't like him at all. All right, let us give Detective Comics 1081 a rating out of 5 nightmare corpse trees.
See, this is hard because, like I said, I feel like the art in this deserves respect 100%.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate the question story. I think I agree with you about its timing, but I still like it. And this was a really interestingly told backup. So, like, I really actually did enjoy, like, 3/4 of the meat of this issue. But I hate the story so much. I'm going to say a very generous 3. But man, this is... it's...
Mediocre. That's my word. Mediocre, and therefore, as mediocre in a task, it gets a 2.5, and that's probably a half point too much.
On the website, in my review, I gave this a 3, largely for the art and the emotions. I'm still frustrated, but there is a lot to enjoy about this issue. That gives us an average of 2.83 and a mode of 3.
Hey, you got a second? The Batman universe is looking for Batman fans with something to say. If you're interested in writing reviews of your favorite Batman books, or you want to contribute original content with articles like the top 10 forgotten Batman villains, or why Dead Didio's exit from DC was the worst thing to ever happen, then we want to invite you to join our TBU staff family as a writer. Just reach out to our email, tbu@thebatmanuniverse.net, and let us know that you want to become one of our writers. It's that easy. And honestly, there's no reason not to. You get exclusive access to our TBU staff Discord server, you get early access to comics, and you meet a lot of cool people. What are you waiting for? Email us at tbu@thebatmanuniverse.net and let us know that you want to become one of our writers.
That brings us to the end of our review section. So let us move to our Greater Gotham. Not a very big section this time.
I forgot my ratings on my other computer, but I'll try to remember.
Outsiders
All
number
thumbs up.
What? Oh, all thumbs up.
Give us her watching orders. They're all thumbs up.
Outsiders number 3.
Thumbs up. But it was a weird issue.
All of them are going to be weird.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the series.
I guess that's true.
And if people don't like it because it's weird, that's totally legit.
liked-
I just happen to really like it.
It had a lot of... I mean, it was very similar to what we're getting in Batman right now, TBH. But...
I liked it. Oh, in Batman. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But I liked that it was a little more meta. It poked fun at itself a little bit more. It was actually quite entertaining. It was thumbs up.
Thumbs up. The one thing I hate about this title is the name itself, because I think it destroys.
It really should just be called Planetary.
Yeah, it destroys everything we know the Outsiders to be, throughout its history. They could have come up with a much better name for this title. That being said, it's still a thumbs up.
I think that's totally fair. I don't have quite the same attachment to the Outsiders name as, for example, like Birds of Prey. Like, I've gotten really sick of the destruction of the Birds of Prey name, so I understand where Theo's coming from, but I don't feel that way myself. And this is just a thumbs up book for me. I really enjoy it. Nightwing 110.
Thumbs up, and as soon as I finished reading it, I bought it because it was so good.
The author's barely disguised fetish rises its head.
This was a fun way of Tom Taylor making up for that mess of a story with B and the pirates and all that crazy nonsense. And I have got to find that printed page because I want it, with Damian and John just having that back and forth. It's just chef's kiss about everything that we could have gotten with a continued Super Son story. But the idea of Kitty Damian trying to thrash the living shit out of John, and John's just standing there holding him by the back of his neck like you would hold a cat, was just perfect.
So good.
Thumbs up, by the way.
I'll let you guys guess what I feel about this issue.
And we feel so good about this story, we don't care. So go ahead and give your neutral.
No, this is a thumbs down.
Oh,
I hate this
man, it's so good.
God, Jesus.
Ian.
We shall pray for you.
I need it. Everyone pray for me. World's Finest, number 23.
Abstain. It's still Dark Side.
Well, if you abstain, then everyone abstain.
I'll just cut that out. It's still Dark
No,
Side.
I actually read it. Yes, I did.
Oh.
I'm not So the whole Magog thing is crazy, and I don't know why we need Darkseid right now. Can
Yeah.
we?
That's why I haven't been reading it.
Why do we need Darkseid right now? I mean, I was slowly coming around to World's Finest, and now this. So this issue's a neutral.
Abstain. Did anyone read Catwoman?
I did.
Okay.
It was a
Catwoman number 61.
It was a neutral.
What?
She does something I mean, it's still, you have to, the baseline is, this stupid suicidal thing. And I actually kind of just skimmed over why she was doing what she was doing. But she breaks into this nuclear facility and she gets all this, radiation poisoning and she's dying. And then Superman hears her struggling and helps her and sits with her while she dies. It was actually pretty sweet, and it's a friendship I don't think I've seen that much, and so I thought it was actually kind of cool and showed a really cool side of Superman and a weaker side of Catwoman in front of someone she's not normally weak in front of. So it was a neutral.
I have been seeing positive reviews of this issue, but I'm sorry, Teeny Howard has burned every chance with me, so I'm not going to read it.
That is fair. And like I said, I kind of did skim through the beginning because I didn't really care about the setup all that much.
Hearing Steph's side and her rationale gives me some pause. However, just this whole notion of Selena just going on this suicidal binge to see if she can waste all of her 9 lives is just dumb beyond reason. I just can't accept that.
Oh, no, again, you have to go with the baseline of this whole setup is weird and stupid. But within that this was actually a decent issue.
That is a thumbs down.
I said neutral. I said
for me.
Oh, did you read it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So you all got to remember, because I prepare all of the books for you all now, I'm kind of forced to read almost everything. I try to just move past stuff, but it's tough to do.
Brave and the Bold, number 9.
Based solely on just the Batman stories, I guess it's a thumbs up. The Tom Taylor story was a very, very Tom Taylor story.
Tom Taylor wrote a story?
Oh, no, it's Tom King. Sorry, you know what I meant. It's a very Tom King story.
Oh, yes. I was like, it was very Tom King.
It was very Tom King. And then the last one, I'm guessing that was a reprint because those black and white ones are usually a reprint.
No, these are all new.
Oh, is it? I really liked the last one. It's nothing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Tom King story if you like a Tom King story. It was weird in a Tom King way. It was fine. And then I really liked the final black and white story.
For the Batman stories alone, it is a neutral, as with a lot of Tom King stuff. The Joker story fizzled at the end. Yeah. And I think it also suffered from the fact that they just let the story finish. All these breaks in the story for other stories, I think.
How long did we wait for the second
Wasn't
part?
it 3 issues? Because it was the full Guillaume March story?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I loved the Guillaume March story, but why did you publish it in this order, guys?
Yeah. It makes the story forgettable, and I don't have time to go back and to read the other parts to see what everything was about. So,
did we ever find out what happened to the little girl? I guess we just assumed she died, right?
I assumed she died.
Girl is dead.
Yeah.
The fact, I think if she would have lived, she would have made an appearance.
Yeah.
Although there is a great issue of Detective Comics where Batman and Joker and a little girl, and the little girl lives, and it's actually a really good. It's a Chuck Dixon back from the late 90s. It's really good.
It's not this one.
No, it's not.
She's dead.
Did you give a rating for this?
For the
he said
Batman stories alone, it's a neutral. If you include Wild Dog, I'm not a fan of Wild Dog, so I'm not sure why it was included.
I don't understand why it's here. Who was asking for a Wild Dog story? Seriously. But honestly, I have to say it's a neutral. There was some really good stuff in the Tom King thing. Tom King does that thing with Bruce that he likes to do a lot, where Batman's like, I remember their names. And I'm like, I dig that. I appreciate a Batman who loves the people who died and fights in their memory. That's great. But I hate the Joker, and I'm not a big fan of Mitch Gerard's art. And the black and white story was fine, but it didn't feel that impressive to me. I made perhaps the mistake of rereading my favorite black and white story of all time, which is Night After Night by Kelly Puckett and Tim Sale from the late 90s, I want to say. And that story is a masterpiece. And so going to another black and white story after that felt like a letdown.
You shouldn't have done that.
A great story. I love rereading it. So it's a neutral for me on Brave and the Bold number 9. I am excited about number 10 through 12 because we got Gotham Academy coming back. So Penguin number 6.
So I read most of this, so I don't know if it's fair for me to give it a thumbs up, and I haven't really read any of the other issues. No, I think I read the first one or two. But
honestly, this was a one-shot, so you didn't need to read it.
Okay, it really felt disconnected from, like, it didn't feel like I was missing
all
anything.
of them have been kind of disconnected, actually.
But I would
it's
say
like
thumbs up.
6 one-shots in a row, and I can sort of see what he's building to, but they are one-shots.
Okay. Well, I did enjoy it for what I read, so thumbs up.
Yeah, it was a thumbs up for me, too.
I also put a thumbs up. This is actually the first real appearance of Batman in the series, and I think it's pretty well done. It's very dark, though. This is a Penguin story, and Tom King is making Penguin as evil as anything. He's a very good villain. Very, very evil. So, don't expect warm and cuddlies at all. Wonder Woman 5, only the backup.
I think this was my least favorite of the 3.
You didn't like the kangaroos?
No, I did like it. No, that being said, I loved the story. I think some of the things John said were a little weird, but other than that, no. And by the end, I really just loved their dynamic and their older selves dynamic, and I really did enjoy it. Yes, thumbs up.
Wait, which story are you looking at? Oh no, I still haven't caught up on the backup issues.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is thumbs up for me too on the backup, and actually I kind of like the main story, which is about the Wonder Girls, but that's not Batman related. So I thought it was really fun. I really liked the dynamic, as Steph has said, and I think Balin Ortega's art is great. So thumbs up on the backup for Wonder Woman. And I think it's next week that you can collect it all in one Trinity issue.
Sorry to interrupt, Master Booth. Ringing your phone now. This needs my attention.
We had a little bit of feedback this week. A listener reached out to me on Twitter via DMs and was concerned about the negative coverage of both Batman and Detective Comics and all the abstaining we do in Greater Gotham. And so I thought that we should do some general responses to that.
So my thought is that I like to be a positive person. I really don't like complaining, but I will say that it is, I don't know if it's human nature or it's just more fun. I don't know. But I feel like just as a human race, we tend to have more to say when it's a bad thing, when we're talking negatively about something. Because really, there's only so many ways I can say, I love Dan Mora. I love Dan Mora. I love him. I love everything he draws. And it's only so interesting a podcast can be if it's like, oh yeah, that was good. That was great. That was wonderful. Now, if we're discussing things and having thoughts, that's always wonderful. I love that. And again, I do hate being negative, but honestly, I am struggling in a lot of the stuff right now to find things to be good about. And the reason I abstain is because I hate being so negative. I'd rather just not read it and not have anything nice to say. So that's why I abstain so much in Greater Gotham. Is because a lot of the books are just not the type of, and again, not that they're bad, they're just not always my jam. And so I just choose not to read them so that I don't have to give them a thumbs down or waste my time. But yeah, I do think we sometimes need to make an effort to find things we like, which is, again, one reason I try to find so many things I did like about tech. It's just really hard right now. It's just really hard right now. Anyway, that's all I have to say about it.
Well, I would agree. I actually think it's funny. Back when I first started on the podcast in 2018 and then through 2020, through the end of Tom King's run, we actually got some user feedback, some listener feedback, which said, you got to get Ian off the podcast. He's too positive about Tom King. He sickens me. You got to kick him off. And Dustin very kindly defended me and said, no, Ian's giving his honest opinion, which I am and always do. I feel like I've been the most positive about most of the books, except for the ones written by Tom Taylor, which everyone knows how I feel. It's just not my taste, not my thing. I have consistently tried to talk to people about what they like about these runs. I've sought out the fans and asked them, what are you liking about this book? And I'm struggling to see it. So if you really like some of those books that we are giving thumbs down to, or we're giving a negative review to, please leave comments, preferably on public things, so we can actually read them out loud and not, read DMs and cause drama. Just give us your honest specifics that you're enjoying, and we can pick them out, and we will read them on the podcast, and we'll give them the hearing that they deserve. When it comes to abstaining, as Steph said, I abstain from reading Catwoman and Harley Quinn because, as I said, Teenie Howard's burned every bridge with me, and I'm just not... I don't think it's healthy for me to rage Spyler about her books. I think they're bad. I ran out of ways to say they're bad 6 months ago. I don't need to keep finding new ways. And we do this for free, or we actually pay. Like, none of us are paid to read these comics. And so we read what we have time for and what we think is healthiest for our own mental stability.
And I think that adds a layer of rage when it wastes our time. It's like, there's a lot of things I should have been doing today. And instead, I was reading tech. And it took a long time because
it's hard to figure out.
It's hard to figure out.
Yeah. So I think we do try to be positive. I think we really do. And if you miss that, I'm sorry, but it really is there. I structure things so that we try and close Greater Gotham with a positive review. Like, I deliberately try and pick a story that I think we'll all at least enjoy in some measure. And if you listen to the first 40 minutes of this podcast, I don't know how long it'll be when it's edited, but at least 30 minutes of the first part of this podcast, we were loving Batman and Robin. So, like, we've got plenty we're positive about right now. It's just, maybe we're not enjoying the same thing. And please do reach out on a public place so we can read your comment, and we'll be happy to share that opinion on the podcast.
So I have the dubious privilege of responding to this in a dual capacity. So please forgive me for being slightly long-winded. I answer this not only as one of the co-hosts on this show and a reviewer from time to time, but I also answer this question and this comment as this site's editor-in-chief, which is really a totally different mindset when you look at the world in which myself and other EICs live in. As a reader and as a co-host on this show, I share a lot of what my fellow co-hosts say with regards to time and enjoyment and all of those things, from the standpoint of, not wanting to be too negative and not wanting to come on and do the episode and do our recordings and leave it with a bad taste in our mouths. And believe me, we have done that several times, to where we have gone back to our private chats and have said, we need to do something the next episode to make things feel better because of the taste that a previous episode of books have left us. Quite often, for some reason, we find ourselves doing that a lot around Thanksgiving. We seem to get a lot of bad stuff that leaves a bad taste in our mouths, and we come back and say we got to do something different. We got to finish off on a positive note, and to constantly not have to do that, the notion of abstaining really took form, because we want to have as much of a positive impact on these books as we possibly can. And I say that as one of the co-hosts of this show. As EIC, I look at it from a totally different aspect. We are, in many ways, a media press organization. We do reviews, we do podcasts, we do a bunch of stuff within the world of DC Comics and the Batman universe. We are not employees of DC. We are not employees of Time Warner, Discovery. We're not. And we, like other sites that write reviews and articles on Batman and the Batman universe, or whatever these other sites write, do so from the aspect of giving honest reviews, honest thoughts on that particular reviewer's mindset of that particular story. And it is unfortunate that a lot of times that it may end up seeming negative. However, from my role as EIC, I would prefer an honest review from all of the reviewers on this site than to have them play up into a rah-rah mode for any organization, be it DC, be it Warner Brothers. When we do media review, that's not who we are. And that's not what I advocate for from anyone that's on this staff. If you have been a long time listener to this podcast, and if you have read our reviews over time, you may have noticed that some reviewers write their book reviews in a different format than what has always been the norm on the website. I made that decision because in speaking with some of the writers, they felt that they could get more across and just having a little bit more freedom in how they write their reviews. And so to allow that and to allow them to have their freedom, that decision was made. That's what I will always advocate for, be it positive, be it negative. Now, I will also say I will accept all of the positive reviewers that I could possibly get. And this is going to be my push, that if you have a different thought or if you have a different opinion on how you feel about a title, join the staff. I want as many different voices within the Batman universe as we could possibly get. So, I welcome not just the comments on Twitter or on Discord or what have you. If you have a different opinion about a book, join the staff. We change up with regards to writing assignments all the time. I wrote the reviews for Detective Comics for almost the entirety of Rico Tamaki's run. And when I felt a change coming with Ron V, I handed it off to Ian. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with having different points of view. And if you as a listener have a different point of view, I invite your comments, just as Ian and Steph said. But I will go a step further and ask that you join the staff so that you can have your voice out there as well. Because I want as many voices representing this site as I could possibly get. So I absolutely appreciate the message that the listener sent to Ian. It gives me and my role a lot of ideas and thoughts and appreciation that someone who has been a long-time listener took the time to say, hey, here are my thoughts. But I will go a step further and ask that person to reach out to me and, consider joining the staff, so that we can have one more voice added to our gumbo of voices here at the Batman universe. So again, truly appreciate the comments. I took a lot of it to heart, and there were some valid points in that argument, and I will answer that only to say I would love for you to come aboard to add your voice to ours. And for that, I will turn things over.
All right, that brings us to our second comment from Fish Baby on Discord.
Just finished this episode. Could not agree more on thoughts on tech at the moment. Also, I think you guys convinced me to look at Brave and the Bold and the Christmas special. I pretty much had decided to skip both, but maybe I will check it out. By Christmas special, do they mean the
I think you were talking about Silent Night.
Silent Night? Yeah.
The Batman Silent Night, right?
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it.
Me too. Which is all the more proof that DC can do good stories.
Yes! And it wasn't perfect. The one-liners were horrible. The quips were not funny. But they did everything else okay enough that it was a perfectly wonderful, serviceable Christmas stories. I never expect much from Christmas stories. Although, have you guys watched The Christmas Carol Goes Wrong? It's on YouTube.
What?
You should watch The Christmas Carol Goes Wrong. It's hilarious.
No, I'm gonna pass.
No,
Sorry.
it's so good. You need to watch.
No. Doesn't have
hour of
Batman
your
in it.
Yeah, sure. At the very end. Blink and you'll miss it.
Like, look, I'm gonna have to go in with my eyes wide open. Steph, I don't see him. Wait.
You must have missed it.
Okay, I would like to read our Bat Fan Appreciation Wall now. These are our thanks to our Patreons at a certain level. Thank you to Lisa Flack, Stanton's Grave, Johnny McCloskey, Ian Miller, Ed Grouse, David Richards, Joshua Lappenbertoni, Captain America, Donald Townsend, Rob O, Caspian73, Brendan Roberts, and Stephanie Mouse. Thank you all for helping us keep our archive on the web. You help us to keep our history intact, and hopefully new fans appreciate the ability to go back and hear what all of us and our predecessors thought about all these Batman comics for the past 16 years.
If you want a little, I was going to say, if you want a little, what's the word? You know how sometimes when you compare two things, the one doesn't seem as bad as you thought it was before? Go listen to some New 52 book reviews.
Oh my goodness, those got real depressing.
They reviewed every single book on the cast, and every cast was about 3 to 4 hours, and they hated every single book. This is a cakewalk, y'all, compared to what it used to be.
Darn right. And we've worked hard to structure it in a way so it is both more structurally positive and more fun for everyone, including us.
And not 4 hours long.
Oh gosh, we've done those casts and they are brutal.
They are.
Although I'm just happy that I haven't had, at least not in my memory, I haven't had a Batman 50 type rant like our good friend Ed did. I came close, but that epic rant will go down in.
And that wasn't even New 52. That was Chow King.
That was Rebirth. I know.
That was Rebirth.
Have I had a rant?
We've had rants. Oh, we've had
a rant recently. I know we ranted about Gotham more, but I feel like there was a rant like 2 or so years ago where I just was like, I've had it with this, but I can't remember what.
We've had rants, but nothing. I feel if Dustin hadn't shut down Ed, Ed probably still be talking.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our episode this week. Thank you so much for listening. This is Ian.
This is Steph.
And this is the ever appreciative Theo.
And we'll see you next time.